All right, all right. It's another episode, man. We're unfortunately a little bit of technical difficulties, and I think both of us do a little bit of running in the morning, right? And got some different things to take care of, prep for the day, stuff like that. But hey, it's another show, man. How you feeling?
Man, I'm awesome, man. I'm awesome this morning, for real. Yeah.
All right, man.
Let's
Well,
kick
let's
it off.
uh let's get it cracking, man.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. Right here on WLOU. Stream it live on Facebook and WLOUonline.com. And now, The Tipping Point Show.
Man, it
Oh,
is
you doubled
another
up. We got you
week.
doubled up.
Let's see. Let's see. Let's take my man here off the stream. There we go.
There you
All
go.
right. All right, good stuff. So, it's another week, another episode of the Tipping Point Morning Show. It is yours truly, Mr. Just Ask Joe. And I tell you what, my brother, man, this brother comes through every single time, every day, every week, every hour, minute of the day. I know he's got people pulling on him, man, because it's just that energy, man. That energy. It's my brother from another mother, Mr. John Yah, Esoteric Concepts. Brother, how you doing?
Man, I'm awesome, brother. How you this morning?
Oh man, I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm faced with trying to I got 3 computer screens over here, so I'm trying to make sure I'm looking in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
My camera, so I think I just moved the screen right to be a little bit better. Shouts out already to Michael Douglas, man, Florence, South Carolina. Shout out to you, family. We got Ahamara Mathis, the General Grand Rising. Good stuff there, man. How was your week?
Man, it's busy, but that's my life actually. Like I said, I don't know what I would do if I wasn't busy. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the work. I'm enjoying the creativity and getting shit done,
Getting shit done. You know what? That's something that a lot of people may not truly know about. Getting shit done. I know a lot of people that they start shit and don't finish it. Now, now I'm not talking about, having ideas and things of that nature, and then you may not be able to push all those ideas out. But I'm talking about people that in a sense, they will have these great ideas, want to start and move towards it, but then all of a sudden it's like, hold up now, it requires work.
Yeah, and there is the distraction. It's a lot of work in getting something. If you're trying to accomplish something specifically in an area of your life of achievements or whatever you're trying to bring in, it's a lot of work in it. You got to be persistent. You got to be at it every day. You got to think of it day and night. And it is work. It's not just thinking about something. People think manifesting something is just, it pops in your face. But no, it's actually getting work done. And so, it lays on your hand. And so, what else is left other than to serve and to create? If you look at nature around you, and one of the things we're going to talk about is this God concept, and I want to use the word attributes. You look at animals, you look at species, bees, ants, they have a job to do, and each and every one of them have a certain task to get done. They wake up in the morning, they go after what they got to do. They're not sitting around watching TV. They ain't playing Nintendo games. They ain't doing that. They are trying to build generations of wealth within their own community. The bees do it, the ants do it, all nature does it. So what's wrong with us? What's wrong with us getting some work done to achieve whatever it is we want to achieve?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. What is wrong with us? Maybe that's a topic for another show, brother. What is wrong with us? Now, I tell you what, we started a bit late, and it's all good because we're still on time. We're gonna have the crypto wrap up, and just the same, folks. I want you guys to really, you know, this conversation. You know, I'm glad that you already brought, because this conversation right here, the God consciousness. What does it all mean? Let me tell y'all something. This right here is gonna be a dope conversation. This may be a multi-part conversation, but right about now, without further ado, meaning we're not gonna prolong it anymore. It is right now time for the hashtag crypto wrap up with yours truly, Mr. Ken Lockhart, aka Crypto Kenny. Brother, welcome once again this Saturday, the 30th of 2022, April, to the Tipping Point Morning Show. Family, what's going on?
Oh, man, just happy to be here, brother. Just thanking God that I woke up this morning. Every day is a blessing on this earth. Every day is worth millions of dollars to me. You know, just the fact to be alive. You know, I throughout the day, I see so many people that are not experiencing life to the fullest. I see so many people that have passed, you know, friends, family members. I'm reminded that they're no longer here. And that allows me to appreciate the day a lot more, you know, and right now you guys are talking about the God consciousness. And this is a topic that as soon as I saw it, I fell in love with it. And I was like, yo, I mean, I was, you know, sometimes I'm, you know, you got to be on top of me, Joe, in terms of making sure that I'm, you know, exactly on time. Because of my responsibilities. Yeah, but with this conversation, I thought about it when I woke up.
He was here bright and early. He was here bright and early.
I gotta be there on this one.
He was here before we even got on. He was like, waiting.
It means a lot to me because you know, a lot of people say that they have faith. You know, they go to church, they talk about faith, they talk about God, they talk about, you know, trusting God. But I look at them and I know that they don't trust God. They don't live it. You know, when you trust God, you're not nervous about decisions. You know what I mean? You could have life decisions that seem like very hectic, but you're not stressed because you know, God is with you on the good times and the bad times. Most people just like to celebrate it when it's the good times, or only reach out when it's really bad and like, yo, God, come help me. You know? But what you have to realize is
everybody right before a bus hits them, you know, oh my God. They all call out to him.
You know, but the thing about well, for me, right, is different for everybody else. Let me just, you know, say that and make that clear. For me, God consciousness is just an incredible, undeniable belief system that you're going to be protected by somebody, and that everything that you're going through leads to something else, right? You just have to trust that, because sometimes things will happen in your life that you've never even seen coming, right? So I'll give you guys a little history of myself to kind of tie it into crypto. Before I got into crypto, I was very passionate about building a video game, a spades game, online spades game where you could do animations and gamble. And I went on that journey, and it was supposed to, you know, I decided to build this game. It was going to cost like $80,000 to $100,000. I got all these investors, and the game was supposed to take 4 months to build. And instead of taking 4 months, it took about 7 years, because of the fact that I was going through so much struggles with the development team that I had hired. They didn't really know what they were doing. They were, you know, it was constantly back and forth fixing the app. Needless to say, that app never got launched. I spent over $100,000, and I had 15 investors in that project. Throughout those years, everybody was looking at me and saying, you know, Ken, just give up on this spades project. You know, you're wasting money. It's not launched yet. Every time I talk to you, it's almost about to be launched. And I had this deep faith for some reason that this was my calling. Like, I'm supposed to manifest this project. And I felt that God gave me that feeling for a reason. So it was just really about fulfilling that specific task that I felt like I was supposed to fulfill in my purpose. Me going after that journey, there was a time when I was supposed to give up. Even with Apple and Google, they had changed the platform structure for my development team to a totally different style of gaming, and nobody in our staff was able to handle those engineering obligations. They went from like photo engine to like Unity development. That's like basically saying, you know, you went from an iPhone 6 to a 10X. You know, like, you know, the iPhone 6 is going to become obsolete, right? So I was very devastated. But at that time, it reminded me that, you know, every journey is a learning lesson. So I started to try and figure out what the lessons that I had in that journey before I actually gave up. Because if I gave up, I would have been giving up a lot. I would have been giving up on the thought of entrepreneurship. And I decided to keep going forward. And even though that team wasn't able to have somebody on their staff that did Unity development, and I lost $100K, instead of quitting on the project, for the grace of God, I kept doing more research, convinced myself that, you know, I can still push this project through, even though I just lost $100K. I didn't even know how I was going to rebuild it, because a Unity development platform is more costly than the photo engine one that I just did. But something happened in my life when I made that decision to keep going. The world just opened up to me. And I ended up finding an engineer in India who basically, when I told him about the situation I was in, he rebuilt my entire platform and had it working in 4 months like it originally was supposed to. Now, I say all of that to say this. It wasn't even about the spades game. I talked to my mom about this the other day. I'm now currently the head of a web development company, you know, where I get clients all the time to build websites, video games, apps, comic books, you know, and, you know, I never thought that was going to be my life. You know, Bitcoin Campus, you guys refer to me as Crypto Kenny because, you know, Bitcoin Campus is a project within that web development company that ends up being my most successful one. And I can help people, I can educate people with crypto, I can give them resources. So I created a module within the company that allowed other people to have success, right? Now, here's the reason why I'm saying this, and it may not be specifically on crypto, but the topic itself, the God consciousness, it's important to understand that whatever you're doing in life, you got to take it serious. People are half-assing their life, and they're not able to find the gifts that God's leading them to. If I didn't go hard with that spades game, even though it seemed like it was a dead-end road, it wouldn't have led me to being a head of a web development company. I didn't know. I never tried to be a head of a web development company. I never tried to be the owner of a web development company. God knew that in my journey, though. I didn't. But what I do know is that I have undeniable faith in what I'm doing, who I'm helping, and, you know, where I feel that I'm going to be led. And because of that, I'm not shocked at where I am currently in life, you know. So just dealing with to tie it into crypto, I want to tie it into all angles of what I've been speaking about thus far. When it comes to God consciousness, to me, you're going to elevate yourself into a life that you never knew existed only when you can have an intense faith that what you're doing is going to lead you to that location. Most people don't have that. Most people walk through life confused, not certain, you know, insecure, you know, and I know I speak about crypto, but crypto, right, just building a community in crypto has allowed me to, or allowed, you know, God to put people in my life that help me with everything else. So crypto has led to more clients in my web development company. It's led to stronger relationships, and it's led to more crypto projects. So the reason why I'm saying that is because, again, I started being passionate about a spades game. It led me to being the head of a web development company. I started building websites and video games for clients and myself. I built a cryptocurrency website, which then leads me to more special people. It leads me to you guys. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
so the community itself is leading me to higher levels of elevation. My recognition of this is only through the laws of the universe and what God is doing in me. I just feel like I'm the lead character of a great movie. Now, mind you, the movie has a lot of ups and downs.
Yes.
I've had depressive thoughts. You know, not everything is good for me. You know, I still struggle with relationships, my children, so on and so forth. But being able to have complete faith that what I'm doing is going to impact the world allows me to move in confidence. And there's nothing, the good comes. If I could accept the good, I could also accept the bad.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So when it comes to crypto, that's really my take. Is more so just, you know, I don't want to go specifically on crypto right now because of this kind of subject. I want more so people to understand the concept of thinking, because crypto is just a concept of thinking. It's an investment lifestyle. You know, you gotta, you know, live below your means. You gotta, you know, dollar cost average. You gotta work hard and invest into projects with the thought that your money may not even come back. You know what I mean? And you have to live like that.
So it's a whole mindset.
It's a whole mindset
that revolves around that. And I tell you what, brother, you came with it when it comes to our topic of the God consciousness. So, you know, again, it's all about mindset. So, brother, we thank you once again. Hey, I'm gonna invite you, you know, brother John, if it's cool with you.
Oh man, yeah.
You can kick it with us this morning if you want, bro. If you want to stay, then cool.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you guys don't mind, yeah, I do have I have an appointment at 10 o'clock, but what I'll do is I'll kick it with you guys until then, just to hear some more gems on this subject.
You got the link, so you can jump in afterwards as well. If we're still rocking, then it's all good, because I'm sure we will be. But you got the open invitation, brother. So absolutely, you are of a like mind. Therefore, we love rocking with you every week, family. So
I love being here, brother. I love being here. I love what you guys are doing for the community.
I definitely want to. I just want to add to what he said, because it was you know, it's interesting, and of course I have several similar stories to that. But what I want to say to add to that is that right now you are inferior to who you're going to be. And whenever, and it's unknown to who you're going to be, because you're going through these ups and downs, these things that are making you like a diamond, pressure, right? And so I always say who you are now is inferior to who you're going to be. Because when you think about it, who you are now is not the person you was, and you wasn't thinking like you are now 10 years ago. So again, even who you are now, knowing more and having more advantage in life, that person you was 10 years ago wasn't ready for who you are now until you got ready. Now who you are now is inferior to who you're going to be in the future. And that's the point, is what you're saying, is that you were sent one way to do a task, but that wasn't the task you were supposed to stay at. That was just a building block to get you over here to this task. And definitely that's a great way of looking at it. And what people don't understand is that see, I don't believe in failures, and nor do I believe this concept we're not perfect. No, I believe we're all perfect. If we look at the concept, in other words, if I'm walking down the street and I trip over a bump, and I'm going to look at that bump, and I'm going to remember that bump is there in the concrete, you know? So next time, if I walk past and I trip over it again, ain't I going to pay attention to it? The third time, am I going to walk around it? That's perfection. You see? So it doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes, because mistakes is part of your perfection, right? So we are perfect in this design of living in this dimension. And that's very important to understand. And when you have failures, don't look at them as, oh, it's over with. No, look at them as obstacles that you are supposed to learn from to get to your next point. And like he said, as long as you believe in that concept of that God concept, you believe it, then you trust where you're going. You trust the process. Okay, I got to go through this. I'm gonna trust the process because I don't know what it's going to get me tomorrow, but I definitely believe it's going to get me into another space. And that's how you got to look at it. You're popping up again, Joe. But definitely, I loved it. I love the way you put that. And that's what I heard when I was resonating with that subject there.
Yeah, brother, that's a piece of it. It's a deep conversation. You guys have sparked something that a lot of people should pay attention to. The mentality. We if you have undoubted faith in this world and what you're doing in this world, you'll be able to go through it a lot smoother. Because everybody has the same situations that happen to them in life. Everybody goes through good times. Everybody goes through bad times. Everybody has relationship problems. We're black men on this call. We've all experienced some sort of racism. We've all experienced some sort of unfortunate when it comes to just the color of our skin, right? So everybody's in the same box. It's really just how you handle it and how you view it. I could walk down the street with you and we can get called a bad name by somebody of an opposite color. Me personally, when I see that, I feel bad for that person because I know that there's something inside of them that's bothering them that makes them want to belittle someone else to make them feel bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You may look at that and say, wow, that person's attacking me. And now you lost self-confidence when I gained confidence from awareness. You get what I'm saying? So it's just the way you interpret and how you view the things that everybody else is experiencing. You have to constantly view those things totally different on a regular basis. And the only way you're able to do that is when you have a faith in God that everything is supposed to happen to you, as long as you're allowing it to happen and you take the good and the bad equally. Don't just celebrate the good and then when bad comes, it's why me? No, there's summer, there's winter, there's fall, there's spring. You're not going to change the seasons. They just come and then they go. There will be a winter. There will be a summer. Winters don't last for 12 months unless you live in Alaska. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's I like the way you broke that down, brother. But there's different ways of looking at this. I'm curious to see what Mr. Joe over there is thinking as well. He just split himself on the screen. His God mind is split. I don't know if you guys saw that. He came on 2 different screens. So I know he's over there. His mind is spinning. I think you're muted.
That is exactly what happened, man. Mind blown. I did the emoji. I enacted out that emoji, that mind blown emoji right there. You guys said something. Our imperfections perfect us. That's dope. That's dope as hell. So I want to make sure I give a shout out to Phyllis Satia Churchill Myers. Shout out to you, sis. Always tuning in with us. Shanrika Crawford Benjamin. Shout out to you. That's got to be family right there. In the whether it's in the crypto or whatever, but it's got to be family nonetheless. Frank Stoner, Grand Rising family there, and Amnietic Peace family. Appreciate you. And Shanrika, we love you just the same. Thank you for the compliments. Absolutely. When I'm looking at this, I want to jump into the conversation most definitely. And John, this is something that we float around this topic often. Even when we're not talking about this, we often talk about this. So it's kind of dope that we're specifically bringing a conversation about this God consciousness, because it's important. One thing I was looking at is this morning, and you may not have gotten a chance to see it, John, but there was an interesting talk about the Bible, some stuff that was found back in 1942. And one of the things that was found was the Book of Thomas. It was omitted from the Bible. And what I find interesting about it, regardless of what we believe about the Bible. One thing my brother says is that the Bible is no less than literary art, right? Composed of many people's writings, many people who did not even believe that their writings would end up in a book somewhere, right? They were writing letters to different people for different reasons, right? Nonetheless, with that in mind, the Book of Thomas, one of the things it talks about the God consciousness. And in listening to this talk, I couldn't help but to think about you, John, because one of the things it talked about was how what was omitted was, yes, ask and you shall receive, but what was omitted was how to ask and receive. And what the Book of Thomas talks about is that heightened elevation, that the use of emotion and heightened elevation when you ask, things that you speak about, John, as we've talked about here on the show. I found it very interesting that these were things that, like even with that asking you shall receive, there was literally 2 sentences that was removed that talks about how to properly ask and receive. So people pray and pray and pray and pray and pray. I prayed for my mother to live back in 2015. She died, right? So obviously, just sitting down on your knees and saying, oh God, please, doesn't work, right? But there is a specific way to reach out into the universe, this matrix that we have, using our mind and our emotion to actually grab what we need. And with that in mind, folks, then this is what we're floating around when we start talking about this conversation.
The truth is running in our blood. The answers are lying here within.
Brother John, go ahead.
This concept, this talk, God consciousness, it has so many different levels to it and layers, and it means different to different people. Now, why did the word consciousness connect to the word God? You see, this word consciousness, or what we will call the conscious community, it actually derived out of people who didn't want no association with religion, who was really trying to define their awareness of God, not through someone's book, not through someone's 1,000-year-old or hundreds-year-old writings, right? The belief to exist that God exists inside the consciousness, which is now, and not again in something that deals with the past. So people who call themselves conscious were really people who were saying, I'm not religious, but I am a believer in God. In other words, when people say they're not religious, some people, religious people, will begin to think they don't believe in God. Oh, you're an atheist. Never said that. They just said they don't believe in religion. There's a difference.
And let's look at that real quick, John. Religion, you're talking about the formalities of things, right? When
you talk religion, you're talking rituals.
Exactly.
You're talking things you must do and perform in order to get liked by this thing called God, right? Or appreciated by this thing. There's rules you must do. Jump over this, climb this mountain, do this, do that.
Which folks, you gotta realize, and even if we start talking history, I know in my studies, Constantine, right around 300, 325 AD, had a pagan god. And he did not want any other religion to be above his pagan god. So what he did do was he took the Christian faith and his pagan religion and combined the two, and which created Protestant and now you see Catholicism. So when you look, I've been to a Catholic church. My youngest son's mother is a Catholic or something. Her mother's Haitian and she's Catholic. So I've been to a Catholic church a couple times, and I mean, it is so ritualistic. Dude walking around with the beads and the cross hanging, and they got the little thing with the smoke in it, and some of that I guess is cool. I guess he's saging the church because there's probably some demons in there, you know, or something. I don't know, but it's very ritualistic. You walk out the church, you got to stick your hand in the cup. It's a little dirty sponge down the bottom of that.
It's manipulative.
Yeah.
There's an agenda behind it.
Yeah.
Power and control is not the truth. It's a distorted truth. Now, if you think about this subject,
now
we
hold on,
say
real
God
quick.
consciousness because God is in us. We are God because this is our movie. Once you're done with this movie, the movie's done. So in this movie, you're the main character. For you to think that you're not God or connected to God would do yourself a disservice in this movie. Now, if you think about how we've been manipulated growing up, think about something as simple as Barbie dolls all being white with blonde hair. Why would that be? Why would the superheroes that we grew up watching, why are they all white? James Bond, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. Because what's happening is you're
Because only white
programming
people wear capes.
yeah. Or hoods, you know. But as far as just the thought, when you're a little kid, your mind races and you think that you could do anything. You think that you could damn near fly. You think that you could be Spider-Man. Now, mind you, as you get older, a little bit of realization starts to hit you and you realize, you know, you're not necessarily a superhero, but you've elevated yourself to a degree of, you know, being past the normal human being just by feeling that you are. So the words that we say, the thoughts that we have, they're all real. So if you're not thinking that you're in an elevated position in your life, it's gonna play out in your actions in your day-to-day. So understand why these things are the way that they are. Why did Michelangelo paint a white Jesus? Why? You know what I mean? Why is that important to identify that this Jesus is not the color of the real Jesus? Because of the fact that
let's just be real. And John, do you know who Michelangelo was actually painting?
And was he painting himself or his own?
It was somebody like a king's nephew or something like that at the time. It was something crazy like that. He was painting somebody's nephew, and then later down the road, it got associated to that being Jesus. You know, which is crazy, right? Now, John, you were jumping in on you talked about religion. And I kind of wanted to just break that down and define that for people so they understood, you know, the difference. And when we say there is a difference between religion and that spiritual connection. So go right ahead, my brother, and finish that up.
Well, you know, again, religion is just a compile of rituals. That's all it is. If you wake up a certain time in the morning and you do something repetitively over and over again, it becomes your religion. You say, hey, I wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, I meditate before I eat breakfast or I work out. You do something consistently, it's just your religion. That's all. It's just your ritual way of how you do things. And so we don't want to add more to it, and we don't want to make it too complex and deep. Now, let's talk about this concept called God, this word called G-O-D. Now, when I use this word G-O-D, God, where'd you get it from? You're going to always have to say you got it from someone and told you not only the word itself, God, G-O-D, but then tell you what it means. I don't care if you heard it from your mama, your daddy, you read it from a book. Someone had already placed in your brain what is G-O-D. And this G-O-D word is told to you as being something superior, supreme, up there, over there, can't see, know everything you're doing type shit, right? So where did it come from? Where did it originated come from? Well, the word G-O-D is a Greek word. It was the concept that the Greeks crafted before this religion shit came into play. So they used this term, and where did they get it from? Let me explain something to you about this concept of the Greek mythology. The Greek mythology came out of African tradition, right? And so when you look at even the first dynasty, the Greeks didn't come into the picture until around, I believe, the 18th or 19th dynasty. So in other words, there were 30 dynasties in Kemet, Egypt. They call Egypt. 30 dynasties. Some of the dynasties, well, one of them, I believe the first one lasts 600 years. So what is a dynasty? A dynasty is a family ruled. How many years they ruled is what that means in that one dynasty until another family came in, and then it created another dynasty. So what did the Greeks, when the Greeks came and they invaded Kemet, the pyramids, or what we call Egypt, what were they looking at? Because surely all knowledge, all systems of knowledge came from this particular area, according to a lot of historians. So let me give you the concept real quick. They would say that people in Egypt worship many gods. They had the sun god, the air god, the water god, ocean god, blah, 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 right? Even a bird being God. These weren't gods. These were attributes. And what is an attribute? An attribute is something that serves you, meaning that you can see something and you can learn from it. A bird flies. Ah, yeah, I can make a plane. See it? Oh, the sun, look, it shines. Yep, I can make a light bulb. An attribute is something that is serving you, not you serving it. So the sun is serving us. We don't serve the sun, right? So you got to look at the concept and you got to flip it. If it came from Europeans, you flip it another way. That's why in my logo, the African continent is really upside down in your view, but it's really right side up because we're viewing things through the European concept. So now back to this concept called God and where they got it from. They got it from a word called nature in Kemet. What was nature? The meaning of nature was that which is unseen that has the power to affect the physical. That's all it means. That which is unseen that has the power to affect the physical. This is spirituality when you talk this, right? So the Greeks saw it and they didn't know what it was. So they called it God, meaning some supreme being that is over everything. That's what they called it. That's where this term God comes from. But let's look at this word nature. What is nature? What is that which is unseen that has the power to affect the physical? Well, listen to this. I'm an inventor. I have a patent. I have a previsual patent. Where did that come from? From my mind. Could you see it? No, you couldn't see it. I have not only do I have patents, I also have trademarks in my business, meaning logos and thoughts that I came out of my head with, put it on paper and brought it into existence, right? To affect the physical. Where did it come from? It came from my mind. Did you see it? Nope. Even I couldn't see it, but it was in my mind. So in other words, if I can bring a thought that you cannot see into this existence, that's called nature. That means I performed nature. That means I'm God, right? So we got to, when we're looking at this flip, we have allowed people to give us God, give us this concept of God, and tell us it's something over here that we got to go get. When you do that, you've given up your own power to something else outside of you, not knowing that it was you all along waiting on you. So look at all religions. All religions got some Negro coming one day. We got a Messiah. We're waiting on some nigga to come. Jesus is coming to change some shit. And so while we wait, we do nothing. And the shit continues, right? Continues to continue. Instead of realizing that it is you that can change your world by viewing your world concept differently. If you view your world differently, the outside will appear just the way you view it. If you view it through scare, lack, or any fear that you have, guess what? You create that reality in your face, and that's where it comes from. So we got to look at the program. Where did you get the program God? What is the concept? Who told you that's what that means? And why did you settle your brain on that being facts? Here's the problem. Instead of questioning this concept called God and what it really means, because it actually is you reversed. You just looking at it on the outside, but it's actually you that you're waiting for.
John, let me piggyback off of that because you're saying some powerful stuff. And then as you're saying these things, I'm thinking in my head, you know, from an early age as an African American, I was subconsciously taught that white people were superior than other folks. Now, and then you look at old movies, you look at movies like Roots and some, you know, older slavery movies, you start seeing that when they were having their church, they were thanking God for slaves, right? So as a little kid, I'm looking at all of this And I'm saying to myself, we live in a world where there's hierarchies. Like I'm supposed to be inferior to a white person, right? And then the white person is closer to God than me.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't make any sense from a God figure. Like if God created something, he wouldn't create a hierarchy with it. It's almost like an invisible thought that's confusing people and creating them stagnant. Like, what's the point of believing in the devil? I don't believe in the devil. There's nobody that could rival God. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But if you believe in the devil, you're gonna create things in your mind that are devil related. Oh my goodness, this happened to me. The devil is after me. No, you just made a mistake. Don't text while you're driving and you won't crash. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the devil. It's something happened. Now, obviously, unfortunate things happen, but the world teaches you ever since you're a little kid to separate your greatness and look for it in something else when it's really in you. So the people that don't achieve their greatness is because they were always looking to get it from somewhere else. Just like when you said you're waiting for Jesus to come and save you. Damn, 400 years of slavery? When did they start thinking that this dude was not going to show up?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, we have to understand that if we don't take control of our own consciousness and understand that we are the writers of our own book, then someone else is going to write our book for us.
Facts.
Yeah. There you go. The devil is an excuse. When you really look at this conversation, man, it's really interesting. You talk about the God consciousness here. Let's take a look at something here. What is this? With God consciousness, we are able to be centered and sensitive, think clearly, and have a balanced excellence in our thoughts, speech, and action that moves us toward more virtuous behavior. Therefore, we live with greater meaning and purpose. So when you hear that definition, when you look at that thought, it's interesting because if you're in line with that type of thinking, then really churches and all these other religions don't mean anything. They don't make any sense, right? Because if you're in line with that type of thinking, then you move with a more virtuous, godlike purpose in life in general, right? Now, this isn't a conversation, folks, to try and negate, a bunch of stuff. This is to help you expand your mind and start thinking that you yourself have power. So even if we invoke a little bit of so people can grasp it, let's just talk about, let's say, the Bible. In the Bible, it talks about how God imparted a portion of the Holy Spirit into man. Now, again, Constantine 325 AD, he removed about 45 different books, either removed or tremendously edited about 45 different books of the Bible. So what we have today of the Bible is not even the scripture of our ancestors, right? So there's a lot of things that were removed, and some of the stuff that were removed, all of these things were removed, talked all about you and your ability as a human being. Even in the book of Thomas, they talk about Jesus. When Jesus spoke, he was speaking about how you utilize your human emotion to create a better life for yourself. And with that in mind, it didn't talk about waiting for Jesus to come back or nothing like that. It talked about the fact that Jesus came to point you back to the Father and get your mind right. Now, so, even if you just look at that, whether you look at it as literary art or whether you're looking at it as gospel, there's a whole lot more than just that surface stuff that you get sitting in church to get that feel good feeling, and you go out and be a heathen the rest of the week. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot more out here to research and look at. So let me ask you something, John. How long have you had this type of thinking and what led you to this type of conceptual mindset here?
Okay, so personally, me, I had practiced Islam for over 25 years, up until maybe the last 9 or 10 years. But as a former imam, and in the religion of Islam, there were some things that shook my mind up, and things that I was seeing, the concept of men, the versus the women, what women are supposed to be in religion, you know, and the treat it like it's cattle, like, you know, if you do well, God gonna grant you with 10 wives and a cow and some gold and shit, right? You know, that type of shit. And it's using the women as the cattle. Now, one of the things that was most profoundly in the Holy Quran that I'd have to say that shook me to my core, that took me years to figure out, but I saw myself moving away from religion. And there was this one saying, this one ayat. An ayat is like a verse. And it said, I know your deepest suggestion in your heart, for I am closer to you than your jugular vein. And that statement right there, when I read that, you know, everything philosophical, everything has hidden meanings. Like God is always hiding shit. You know, he's always hiding shit under a rock. Like you got to go learn some shit to get to this nigga God, right? And so when I looked at that, I said, well, okay, well, what is a jugular vein? And why did it mention the word jugular vein? Because again, when you look at these words, they're symbolic meanings, right? Even in the Bible, symbolic. So the jugular vein is a vein that runs from the brain to the heart. It runs right through, right? And if you cut the jugular vein, no matter if you had a team of doctors, scientists from neuroscience, brain doctors, and heart doctors, they couldn't bring you back to life, because the jugular veins, the reason why it's called the jugular vein, because if you cut it, the top half snaps up into the brain and the other half snaps down into the heart. So they got to dig into your brain and pull the vein out this way, and the other people got to dig into your heart and pull the vein out to connect it. So what it's saying is, it's saying that if I'm closer than your jugular vein, I'm the very essence of your existence, is what it's saying, between the heart and the brain, right? Because it's very interesting of these two connections, the heart and the brain. They're both communicating with each other. They both have very well meaning in your existence in this dimension. So when I saw that and I started realizing some things about my own thoughts, this is why my writing, Escaping Death Row, and Imagination of the Insect Man was derived out of, because I started realizing it was my imagination of myself when I did shadow work and realized that everything in my life was based upon some thoughts that I had in my imagination of who I thought I was. Now, mind you of this, and whoever you think you are is where you will be. If you elevate your own vision of yourself, life will follow you. If you think you are, let me give you an example. This is a good one. You call yourself a man. Say, I'm a man. Don't that make you feel a little better? When you're a little boy, you say, I'm a man. As soon as you turn 21, I'm a man. People start treating you a little different, right? Yeah, sure it does. When you say I'm a black man, don't that make you feel a little better? I'm a black man. Huh? Now, when you get into religion, I'm a Moor, I'm a Muslim. Don't that elevate you and make you feel better, right? So these concepts of what you put on yourself, it elevates you and who you think you are, and people around you will treat you the way you think you are. It's just that simple. If you say you're a Muslim, hey, you ain't supposed to eat pork. You see? So people will treat you based on that. So elevate yourself higher. I went to saying I was a king. I said, I'm a king. And one day my daughter said, you ain't no king. You ain't got no castle. And I gave her the concept what a king meant. She said, okay. Now I started calling myself a god. People didn't like it, but they didn't understand my concept. But when I started calling myself, it was because I started understanding that my whole life was based upon what I had already had in my imagination of myself, that was mostly planted by subliminal subconscious messages, until I realized that I could reprogram my own self by listening to the affirmations and changing what I think of myself is the way my life was going to change in this existence. So that's where I went through that concept. And then about, like I said, 9-10 years ago, as I pulled out of religion, when a person pulls out of religion for so many years, you know what the first thing they think? Oh, God is going to punish me because he's mad at me. And so if anything happened to you, first thing you're going to think, oh, God did it to me, right? When I got past that concept, I realized this nigga don't exist outside of me. It's me. And then life was awesome after that.
So when you really look at this, man, when we start having this conversation, then and I know brother Crypto Kenny, you got to run. I know you want to say something real quick before you do it.
Sorry about that. I know you had a question.
Yeah, go ahead and speak that real quick.
I was just had a comment. I just had a comment. I can still say that before I get on my call. But yeah, Joe, what I was just gonna say, I thought about this the other day. I don't have it completely like simple in terms of the wording. But in life, you're either who you think you are or who you think the world sees you as.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We fall along that window somewhere along the lines. We fall. Every person falls in that window of who we think we are and who we think the world sees us as.
That's right.
Right? It's still a personal thing, regardless of what the fact is. It's just you're your own universe. So you could take control of who you think you are and live like that and say you're a god and act like a god and respond like a god and try and be what you think God would require, and you'll be a better person. Or you could just think, that you don't have these abilities, that somebody else is giving them to you. Somebody else has control. You're inferior. You're not as powerful. If you think like that all the time, that is going to be your reality. There's a thin line between good and great, average and good, average and below average. There's thin lines. There's a thin line between Kobe and Jordan, Kobe and Iverson, LeBron and Jordan. These are thin lines. The reason why we pay attention to these lines is because it's internal. The closer you get to who you believe that you are in this world, it'll manifest. And then you'll be able to do some phenomenal things. People look at Michael Jordan like he's a god, like he's Jesus. Like, they look at Jordan as this godly figure. Why? Because in his mind, he knew who he was, and nobody could tell him that he wasn't that. And that's really what, grabbing this world by the horns and saying, you know what? I control my reality. If I get shot tomorrow, it's my fault. I could have avoided that. Now, it's not. I mean, obviously there's stray bullets out there, but you could control your world. Some people say, "Oh man, bad vibes just follow me." No, they don't. You got some probably bad.
You created those bad vibes.
Yeah, you got bad associations. You've done some bad things.
And you're right. There is stray bullets out there, but guess what? If you're not of that mindset, if you're moving, I'm telling you, those stray bullets won't follow you. You know what I mean? I've been in 2 serious police stop situations that I've spoken about over the last few years, and in both of those situations, I mean, 2:00 in the morning in one of the most Caucasoid counties, Bullitt County, and you hear something called Bullitt County. Guess what? It sounds just like it is just like it sounds. I'm telling you, but not having that mind frame that this cop is going to be racist and this, that, and the other, and I'm gonna deal with this, that, and the other at 2:00 in the morning. Nah, when he asked me, did I have a gun? Yes, sir. It's sitting over here in my attaché, right here in the passenger seat. You know what I mean? Okay, great. He didn't ask to see it. He didn't ask. He didn't say get out the car. None of that stuff. You know what I mean? Traveling through from Cali to Kentucky, not having that whole racism, everything is racist mindset. I went and sat in the truck with the cop, and we did our business. And I went Facebook Live on that. And the cool thing about that was to show that, if you're not of that mindset, you don't have to worry about those things. These 30-day tags
And I
sitting
want
on
to
this
touch
car.
I want to touch on that point before I get off. We have more control than we think.
Absolutely.
Even with a lot of these videos that you see a lot of black people getting killed by the police, and mind you, those police are wrong. They are racist. They are terrible, evil people. I'm not saying anything to negate that. What I will say, though, is if you watch the behavior of some of these individuals that do put themselves in a situation where they get shot or put in jail, their subconscious mind is yelling at them saying, don't take advantage of me. I'm not a victim. You're not going to victimize me. It's a mentality. If you're a god and you're powerful, you look at the cop like there's nothing you could do to make me a victim. The way you converse with them, the way you talk to them, the way you handle their questions, the energy you give them, that's what subconsciously controls the conversation too.
Right there. Energy. Energy you give them.
If you're dealing with an insecure person, they're going to try and dominate you to show you that they're, have more power over you. My power comes from the fact that I don't need to dominate you. I don't need to talk to you. So you're not important in my world. It's like the Matrix. You're just the Matrix has those, what do you call those, agents? You could either pay attention to the agent or not pay attention to the agent. You know what I mean? They're there, but you the one that controls the agent's existence in your life. You know what I mean? So, I could expand on that, but I definitely don't want to, be too late for my meeting. I love chopping it up with you guys. This conversation has my mind spinning. It's so deep. It's so empowering for the people that are listening to it. For the ones that get it, is done wonders for my life. Ever since I was a little kid, my mom will tell you, my dad will tell you, I was always a free thinker. I was in church asking my mom, why are we eating crackers and grape juice and saying that we're eating, blood of this is not the blood of the lamb. This is Welch's grape juice, Mom. Isn't it?
I love the blood
can I get yours?
Lamb, actually, the blood of lamb.
But yeah, why are we drinking Jesus's blood? Why are we eating crackers and saying that it's a part of his body? Like the rituals, the manipulation, it's something that you have to recognize so that you're not a victim of it. Live your life the way you feel that you're supposed to live your life, and live the best life that you can possibly live, because you only get one. Absolutely. Right? All right, y'all. I gotta go. Love you guys. Thank you for everything that you're doing for the community and what you're doing for my life. And until next time.
Appreciate you, family.
Appreciate you, fam.
Absolutely. And I want to let everybody know that was Crypto Kenny from the Bitcoin campus. Okay, so if you go hit us up at thetippingpointshow.com and you check out go click the little menu button, and there's something that says partners. All right, now on partners, you'll see that logo that says Bitcoin campus and the Tipping Point Show. So we have a relationship to where you can jump in and get a membership. You can either pay a monthly membership fee, or you can, and it's only for a year. It's like $25 for a year, and then you're done. It's a lifetime membership, or you can pay it all up front one time, $180, and it is a lifetime membership. So you get to hear that brother among many other leaders that are speaking within this digital currency platform. They're bringing NFTs to the table. They introduce new stuff. They bring the owners, the CEOs of a lot of these digital platforms to the table for everyone to listen to and learn from. So I'm telling you, folks, it's good stuff. Remember, thetippingpointshow.com /partners, or just go to thetippingpointshow.com and hit the menu button, click partners, and you will see, and just click that and learn about it. Peruse the website after you click it from our page, and you can gather some information. Folks, I'm gonna go to commercial real quick. It is the Tipping Point Morning Show. We'll be right back.
Hey folks, check out healthdaddywow.net. 100% plant-based herbs and supplements. Whether you're in person or online, use the word tipping for 10% off. Remember, feel better, look great, healthdaddywow.net. Remember, healthdaddywow.net.
Habibi Trading Company, home of soap, sticks, and Saya Baba products. Over 400 locations at a store near you. Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, Southern Indiana, or find yours online at sayababa.com. Again, that's sayababa.com. Habibi Trading Company, where you can find fragrances to incite your senses.
Folks, I want to let you know about IncredibleCustom.com. That's IncredibleCustom.com. That's IncredibleCustom.com. Folks, I want you to check them out. That is an amazing site for anything having to do with, what don't they do? Let's see, they do promotional products for just about everything. I mean, if you want wrapping paper with your company's logo on it, they'll put it on there. If you want any type of promotional stuff, digital flyers, printed flyers, t-shirts, everything, again, folks, that is IncredibleCustom.com. All right, that's IncredibleCustom.com. And remember, God'sLivesMatter.com. Every life has infinite value. Again, that's God'sLivesMatter.com. And as you heard there, sayababa.com, just the same. Folks, we want you to check them out. And I tell you what, we will be right back here shortly. All right. Family, we are back. We're coming right back, folks, to the Tipping Point Morning Show. It is your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, as well as our brother from another mother, Brother John Yah. You know, this has been a fantastic, interesting conversation about the God consciousness. All right. What does it all really mean? Okay. So, I'm gonna say this. I am, I'm a preacher's kid. I grew up a preacher's kid in the church, so there was a lot of indoctrination that I've experienced through the years in being a preacher's kid, right? My dad evangelized at many churches across the world, to be honest with you. He's evangelized with this saxophone just the same for different dignitaries across U.S. dignitaries, as well as some Jamaican dignitaries. It's interesting seeing my father have a spiritual awakening, right? He at one point he woke up and he said, "Are we serving the church or am I serving God? Which one is it?" And because you ritualistically, as an evangelist, is what being tied to the church or whatever, you got to be there like all the time. It's like every day there's something else going on that you got to go to, that you got to be a part of. This group, that group, every group. Give a dog a bone. This old man came rolling home. It's crazy. And so he woke up one day and said, "Dude, what are we doing here?" And his study went a little deeper than just the surface, and he started to see that there's a spiritual connection that's missing within all of this. And so now it's an understanding of, hey, speaking and thinking things into existence. We talk more about that now as father, son, or brothers, if you will. My brother was commenting just the same here, because we're all in alignment with this type of conversation and this type of thinking. One of the things I love that Kari Muhammad said, he said that's the verse that shows and proves we are gods and not God apostrophe S. Meaning, think about that. Ask and ye shall receive. There were things that were omitted from that, and that's why I don't negate the Bible as a thing or as something that came about from ancestral writings and things of that nature. It is a historical text. My dad will speak on it. I have to get him on the show at one time and say he doesn't believe that it is. He doesn't believe that it is the word of God. In this Bible, but it is a compilation of many literary texts and such like that. As my brother just said here, it is an inspirational museum. So if you want some inspiration, you can go and read it. But again, you got to understand a lot of the way preachers see, when you think about it, if you hide the truth from people, then you can sit there and say, you know what, we can charge a little tax on this and keep giving these motivational speakers and we can make some money. You know what I mean? It all falls back to money, when you start looking at some of this stuff. But when you really dive a little bit deeper and you look at it from a God consciousness perspective, look at it from the perspective of you being able to go out into the world and accomplish things. And when you look at it from that perspective, there's a lot of things in there that don't make sense, shouldn't have been put in there, that have been twisted and turned around, and things that have been omitted. When Kari said that, that's the verse that shows and proves that we are gods, meaning ask and you shall receive, meaning you have power within you, right, to speak. And what they omitted was how to do it, how to add that elevated emotion. All right. And you'll find that in the book of Thomas. But with that being said, man, there's a lot out there. How do people come to the ability to get more spiritually connected, right? Because we talked about that word universe a minute ago, and by definition, you pull it up yourself. There's a definition there that says a particular sphere of activity, interest, or experience. So when we say that you create your own universe and you are in control of your own universe, you are in control of a particular sphere of activity, interest, or experience, or the experiences that you encompass. How do people get more connected, John?
They have to be unattached. In order to get connected, you got to be unplugged.
You got to unlearn to relearn.
Yeah. It's very interesting, and because when we talk about this, man, when we go into that Bible thing, man, I hear nothing but garbage. I heard nothing but distractive garbage. You can take one drop of truth and you can put it in a bucket of falsehood, and you can lead millions of people. One little drop of truth, and because that one truth resonates with you, you'll follow the rest of the 99 lies, and you'll believe the 99 lies. But here's what's very interesting about this concept of God outside the concept inside religion. Like, this is why I can't believe in this Negro called God, because it's just too much shit going on in the world for this motherfucker to be sitting on some throne, letting shit happen. And he's got the power to change some shit, and he don't do nothing. I'll let y'all handle that shit. I just think that these things are our biggest distractions, and these concepts are making us weak as a species on this planet, when we're capable of changing this whole environment through thought. Listen to this. If it is true that you can manifest the life you want, then what was religion for? Imagine if everyone knew that they can manifest the happiness they want. What would they need religion for? If you went to church and the preacher told you the secret, which it ain't a secret, That's the thing. It's really not a secret. But if he told you this thing that they're calling a secret and you actually used it, what would be the point of you going back to church? No, he needs your ass to keep coming back because that plate got to keep going past, and he needs that damn money to pay his Cadillac car note and his house note. Okay, so he either don't know himself or he's not going to give you the power to become powerful. And I think when you look at this world condition, you look around you, you see war, you see people starving, you see people fighting over things, you see a value of things more than people. If you believe that there's things on this earth more valuable than you, it's over with. So what happens is that we got so much distraction that you don't know the God self in you. I mean, how can you find it when it's distraction? You got the TV on, there's a war going on. We just went through COVID. COVID's coming back. We got people starving in one country. We got police brutality in another country. We got elections coming up. Oh, Derby's coming up. We just had what's that? What's that? Thunder over Louisville. We always got these distractions that stop us from discovering who we really are. And I think that's it. For the most part, programs, I think even the people who are listening, let alone the people who are not hearing this, people who are listening, those of us who are paying attention, and I have 2 ears, so I actually hear myself. So I'm actually talking to myself. Actually have to look at the concept of what is God and revisit that concept and really try to throw all that out the window. Those are just books. The best discovery of God is not written. Nobody wrote it. It's not written. It's your connection. If I can wake up, and here's the thing, and let's tie this back with our last 4-week conversation with
about men's mental health.
Oh my goodness. Because here's the thing. If you really understood who you were or who you are in this vessel, in this dimension, you will solve all your problems. Your problems will be solved because your problems are you. They're of you, right? And I think even that cures that problem of what we have as men once we look at the concept. But listen to this. If you know nothing about breastfeeding and the power of breastfeeding, if you don't know nothing about the power of the placenta when the baby's born, that little bag that comes out of mama's belly, that one where the white man clips and cuts off and then he takes the bag and sell all the goods away, not knowing that all that chemical needs to go into the body of the baby so it can fully develop its brain and all of its neurons in its system, right? And all its immune system build up. We don't know that. And so are we stripping our God self from us, from that birth concept? If it is true that a woman can, while baby's in the womb, in her belly, if she can listen to classical music and listen to great affirmation and that child comes out a genius, if that is true, then it's true to the opposite of the woman that's listening to some crappy ass music and watching crappy ass shit on TV or discussing crappy ass conversation. That baby comes out with a crappy ass mind with nowhere to go. If those things are true, then where the fuck does God live in? Where does God exist in these 2 dimensions of this programming good and programming bad? It seems like that if we got the concept and we got handle of it, we can solve all of our problems just by understanding those basics that they don't tell us, that we can reprogram your own thoughts and manifest your life all over again and be what some would call reborn, right? Into a new life, into a new behavior. You have to change your diet. You have to eat better. You have to be conscious of what you're eating. That's a deep one. To be God conscious, I say most people, you ain't eating right. I'm gonna tell you this. I don't care how woke you think you are. If your ass is eating crappy, you ain't as woke as you really believe. I'm gonna tell you that now. You are not halfway as woke as you think if you're eating crappy food, because food plays a great role in your development. If you was breastfed and not breastfed, plays a great role in your mental development, right? If you were born and you had all the placenta till it just fell off, rotted out, and then you are a different child. It's just that simple. And I think we got to look at these concepts of where it comes from. And in this conversation that we had a few weeks, I don't accept the concept that the woman's the fault in blaming the woman for the man's situation. I believe this. I believe we're both in the same boat together. We're both suffering from the same mental illness or the same mental problems. We're pointing fingers at each other, though. Is you the fault? No, you the fault. No, you the fault. But we're both in the same boat. If we can understand our abilities and who we are in this dimension, it's endless of what we could do collectively. And that's collectively. If I have an individual thought and my individual thought pays me successfully, imagine what we can do collective thought on that same path.
When you speak about collective thought, it reminds me of something. I saw a video, and I can pull it up at some point. I'll probably tag it in on this post thread. But the video showcased a group of people. I'm not sure if they were Mayans or something like that. Josiah, if you're watching, you probably remember this video. And what these people did, there was a lady who had cancer, and they connected her to whatever machine is that shows that tumor. And what they did was they stood around her and they chanted something.
They laid their hands on the tumor, and they did a chant. Yeah,
they did a chant. Now, what they were chanting loosely said something along the lines that you are already healed or something like that, right? So it was basically, and again, and this goes back, and this is why I'm saddened that the Bible has been manipulated the way it has been, because it could have been a much better tool for people in living this life. Because again, what they did was they used a heightened emotion along with a belief that she was already healed. And in that belief, they all concentrated collectively in their mind, meaning so they saw her healed already. Whatever it was, whether she was walking down the street, jumping up for joy, or whatever they had in their mind, they saw her as healed already. And then they did that chant, and literally you can watch the tumor subside right there in front of you. Right? So when you think about it, but you don't hear about that in modern medicine. You can research it, you can look it up, you can look at that video, you can go and try to debunk it. Hasn't been debunked. The fact of the matter is that we have a power within that many of us just we don't even think about it, but yet you do it all the time. I mean, every time you sit there and say, I was just thinking about you, so-and-so. Just the other day, I was just thinking about you, because you were talking to a friend about this other friend or this other family member or what have you. And then all of a sudden you run into them at the grocery store. You did that. That was the power of the mind. You did that. It was a heightened emotion when you were having a conversation with somebody else about this person. You were thinking about them, heightened emotion, conversation. You saw them, you envisioned them in your head, and boom, next day you run into them at the grocery store. They pick up the phone and call you. I was just talking about you. We belittle even that so much. And it's amazing. Now, it's my brother was saying, he said he refers to a gender part. Now, I don't know anyone who's seen God's penis unless God is mortal. Right? He says, anything that I found after I left church, I can find its counter. I'm the Bible. Satya says, so all comes under free will, and body made perfect or something, mentioning the word heal inadvertently enables the idea that healing is not here. Interesting thought. You got to elaborate on that one. But and that right there, that's my brother right here. You see at the bottom here, you see Yoshi Makes Beats LLC. Yoshi Makes Beats at gmail.com, 804-885-0816. So the music that's had on a couple of commercials that you've seen here comes from brother King Yoshi right here, Mr. Josiah Tapper. All right. So, when you start talking collective, then there's the other story out there of and you spoke about this, my dad spoke about this, of people on one side of town being able to lower the violence on another side of town by their collective meditation.
Correct.
Right. And that's something else that's been documented, folks. Yes. So when you look at this, if you keep people separate, if you keep them distracted, then you keep them with an inability to realize their true power.
Correct.
Because we can't have people walking around here powerful.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because if people get that powerful, all of a sudden you can't control them.
Right.
They'll start doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's common sense to say, okay, no one should be controlled, cattled, and all of that stuff. That just shouldn't be. There shouldn't be anything that says come here on this day and listen to this and every week and this will make you feel good, because that's all that's really happening. Most churches out there, they're not giving you anything. Pastor Keith is one of the few, and this is from my experience, Pastor Keith is one of the few pastors that speaks about speaking and thinking things into existence that actually focuses on allowing you to move in a particular direction, to heighten your life, to utilize tools of speaking and thinking things into existence to move forward. He's one of the few that I have ever heard speak on this type of stuff. And it's just because, I think, with him, he doesn't collect money from the church as payment or anything like that. He has his own businesses and such like that. And, so he's not looking to cattle people in and keep them in here to, he's really trying to give you some tools to get out there and actually utilize. Whereas most pastors just give you a feel good message. I said, hold up, I got a loogie in my throat. That's really what's happening on that Sunday. And then you go home and as a people, we love feel good messages. We love it. Because we used to stand and let Master stand up there and speak that truth. And then we, yeah, Master. So now you come to church and you be like, yeah, Pastor. It's like the same difference. So it's just kind of crazy how we've fallen into this. What would you say would be the first thing that people can do to enlighten their mindset and move towards, to find themselves? What can they do to find themselves and connect with their true spirituality?
I can throw several things out there, but would it be taken as something that they know? If they already knew these things, then they wouldn't be probably in the condition they're in now. I would say that this thing called collective, this collective awareness, self-awareness is number one. Self-preservation is number one. You have to love yourself first before you can love anything outside yourself. It's just that simple. Even your child. You can't love your child if you don't know how to love yourself. I don't care. You just it comes first. You must feed yours first. In other words, it's just like a woman breastfeeding. She has to feed herself first in order to create breast milk. So self-preservation is first. Take care of self first. I think it's extremely important that we focus on taking care of ourselves. Right. Number one, take care of ourselves. When we talk about this collective, it is hard to get collective energy together because the self first is disoriented. It is too spread it out. In other words, you're really not taking care of self first. So how can you get to the collective? And here's the thing about the collective. The collective is divided through all types of devices. Number one, we have a identity crisis we're going through as a people, period. We don't know what the fuck we are. We don't have a clue. Then we have a gender crisis. Oh fuck, this is a new one, right? You got all kind of genders now, and it's just not men and women. We against men, you against me, I'm against you. You know, we got the women man thing. We just went through this last 4 weeks with a brother saying, hey, the women's the fault, and then the women say, no, y'all the fault. And then you got these other genders and these other names that they want to call them, X's, whatever. And then they play a role in who they are. I'm a man, I'm a woman, no, I'm a dog, I'm a cat, right? I don't want to be any of that. And so we got all these different divisions and all these different concepts, but it's really basically the confusion of discovering love for self. If you don't have the love for self, then you are easily going to be entwined in this collective division that's going on. So first is self. Love of self, love of self. Even if you think you're another sex, there's something wrong with loving who you are at this moment. That means love of self, the way you are, is the first identity, right? So now, inside of that love for self, you got to turn off the television. You cannot allow information to be fed into your brain that's harmful to you. You cannot hang around people that don't celebrate you or support you, or you don't inspire or inspire you. You got to change your diet. See, love of self is deep, right? You got to change your diet. Oh, I can't. This show's not long enough to talk about the foods you need to stay away from and the foods you need to eat. Love of self, right? Taking care of yourself is number one. And so eating right. If you think drinking and smoking you ain't get it if you got that, right? So you got to have a deep love for self first. When you do that, guess what happens? Collectively, you're going to attract those that love you, and those who love you, guess what? They love themselves too. That's how the collective works. But if you're disarray, if you're confused in your own thinking, if you're not straightened with yourself, then you will never find a community of collective thinking on that path, because you will not be attracted to it, nor will it be attracted to you. So actually, it's really about self-awareness. You exist with over 100,000 cells in your body. Each of these cells are functioning in your favor. Are you feeding these cells correct? Are you feeding these cells the right enzymes so they can be the best function cells in your body? If you're not, then guess what? You're not being the best person you can be in this dimension. If you're not paying attention to are you paying attention to your organs? How your organs function, how your liver function. Did you know your liver is connected to your spleen? Did you know your spleen is connected to your kidney? Did you know those organs are a community inside yourself? And the way you look at that community is with the foods you eat. If you ain't thinking on that level, then no, you have a problem in discovering self. Self-awareness is first. So since we're talking God consciousness, the word conscious means just aware. Are you aware of yourself? Are you aware of what you eat, the people you're around? Are you aware of what you're doing? Are you aware of your thoughts? Ooh, listen to this one. You see, so most people have runaway thoughts. And that's the problem. Are you constantly checking your thoughts of yourself and your surrounding? Are you constantly thinking and challenging your own thoughts in your brain? Do you believe everything you think? I can go on and on, right? With issues, you need to be questioning your own self. And that's the number one thing, is to question yourself. I'm always questioning myself. I'm always trying to elevate. I'm always trying to do something different. If anyone knows me close, they'll tell you. I'll say I'm doing one thing and I'll change, because that thought didn't benefit me. So again, challenge your thoughts. Always ask yourself, is those thoughts you're having benefiting you? If they're not, let them go. If you're going to have a conversation with someone, ask yourself, is this conversation going to benefit you when you're done? Because if not, you can be drained of energy. And it's a waste of time and conversation. So you got to question yourself. And who's going to really walk around questioning themselves? Do I need to have this? Do I need this? Do I don't need this? Why am I having these feelings? If you're having a thought and that thought is not benefiting you in the future, you need to learn how to dump the thought. That's the number one thing in learning how to take care of yourself is pay attention to your thinking. I can go on and on with those levels, but again, if you ain't there, then it's hard for you to get there because you don't know that the chaotic mindset is all these things. You remember I did that lecture at the Juneteenth
last year. Yes, sir.
You remember that? You remember I did the brain thing. Remember I did the conscience of the device. I had the device in one hand, and I asked people to think about the device. And then I told people to stop thinking about the device. And I asked to raise their hand if they're still thinking about the device. And you see all people still raise their hand because what I was asking for them to do was to control their thinking. And that identifies how hard it is to control your thoughts. It's hard. And that's the practice that you need to work on to improve yourself, is to control your thinking. You're letting your thoughts run away with whatever's been programmed in your subconscious mind. And it develops your life.
And you're talking about thoughts that a person is thinking consciously. Right. You know what I mean? Trying to control that. Now, consider the idea of controlling the thoughts that are there subconsciously.
Right.
You know what I mean? But people do it all the time. You know, they cut that music on and they play it at night. You know, the favorite hip hop artist or whatever, favorite whatever artist, musician, whatever. And you know, you have to ask yourself, is that serving you? You know, is it serving you?
Right. Is that music serving you? Is that show you going to watch? Are you going to leave? Spending an hour watching that show, are you going to leave benefiting? If you're not, then you wasted an hour of time watching that show.
Absolutely. And when you think about that, then, you know, there's a lot of ratchet TV out there.
Oh,
but see, here's the thing. You don't see a lot of ratchet TV when it comes to the other side of the railroad tracks. You see it mostly when it comes to us. We're the, we're the only group of people, right, that will take the worst of us and put it out there for everyone to see.
You know, that's because we sell trauma. We love it. It's in our movies. It's in our music. We can't even fucking have reality TV without drama. There's always drama, and we're gonna watch that shit. Two ladies fighting. We love fucking drama because
I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna play that right now. I want y'all to see this. You know, because he went there right as I was pulling the video up. So let's go ahead. Let's see. Share screen and bada bing, bada boom. We're gonna share this one. Hold on, my bad. Let me stop screen share. Share screen and share system audio and boom. And let's see if we can expand this.
A nigga could tell you yesterday, yeah, I'm about to start rapping. For sure, my nigga, if we didn't tell these niggas they had to make money, they had to be hyper successful, they had to get all the attention, they would make the music that gets the most attention, that quote unquote makes the most money. You get what I'm saying?
They would just make music.
They will figure out what they want to do, what they want to make. But when you a nigga say he rap, nigga, okay, I want to see a Benz.
Where's the shame?
A nigga could tell you yesterday, yeah, I'm about to start rapping. For sure, my nigga, where your car at? You eating, right? You a rapper, you gotta have this, you gotta have that. And that's, like I said, that's why I be on niggas like, niggas want to call niggas artists, all this other shit. Shut the fuck up. For black people in general, we sell trauma. Every hot movie, every TV show, for the majority. That's why Atlanta was so fucking important. And it has traumatic elements, but it's not just straight up, nigga, my life is trash. 12 Years a Slave, that Turner movie, Django, Moonlight. Let's keep it going. We can all name one right now. For black people, the black business is trauma.
Trauma.
That's what we got. Keeping Up with the Kardashians, all these other shows, they having a good time. It's reality TV just chilling. We can't even have reality TV where niggas ain't trying to squabble. We selling trauma. So you expect a nigga to not perpetuate that when they trying to get out of a situation that You tell them that they ain't shit until they get out of it. Until a nigga got money, bro, majority of the time, the way we look at it, and I'm talking for the consensus, not everybody, the majority of people, just from what I've seen, is until you got some money, you ain't shit.
Right.
Funny thing about it is niggas are so stupid. Niggas don't know where they come from and don't know we made everything. If all you can give me is money, nigga, fuck you. I can go find some money somewhere. But a lot of people don't feel like that. But you got to know your self-worth, your own importance. If we not solely motivated and we not tell each other, you got to get money, you got to get out, you got, we telling these little girls they got to marry a rich motherfucker. We telling these little boys they got to be athletes. Like, if everything was so deeply rooted in attention and money, then I feel like we would be in a better place. Everybody's head would be better. You could look at somebody who look like you, who is you, and not feel like shit because you look in the mirror and you appreciate yourself a little bit more.
Absolutely. So, you were going there right as I was looking for that video to pull it up. That was something you posted. I shared it on my page as well. And it's kind of crazy when you really think about that, right? Peep this. All right, so just think about this. And this was in reference to something you said earlier, guiding and influencing the thoughts to control the life. But when you start talking, even as you spoke earlier, you said, walking out here as a man, as a human, but then, throwing black on it, right? We talk about that as well. So black means dead to the law, right? So you got to sit back and wonder, and this is still on this God consciousness thought process, right? But this, I'm gonna talk about distraction for a quick second. So we get out here and we chant black power, and we poke our chest out and say black, 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 right? And legally black, black means dead to the law, right? Emancipate means to transfer as property, right? So Black Death, we're legally treated this way, and Black Death is entertainment. If you talk about killing white folks in a song, it's a domestic terrorism. Talk about killing black folks, then it is entertainment. When you talk about distraction, folks, even the fact that you want to pump your fist out and say black power, I'm black, 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 blackity black, to me, that is yet another form of distraction, and it is another separation, another layer of separation from the understanding of God consciousness. Because you're separating yourself, you're putting yet another layer of separation from just being a human, from understanding that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, which when you start going down that rabbit hole, you start looking at purpose. Why are you here? What is it that you're supposed to be connected to? When you started talking about the things about how you eat and everything else, I've always had this thought in my mind: cleanliness is next to godliness. So, I don't like things being out of order and stuff like that. And sometimes I will, like for instance, even right now, as I've moved, I'll take a bunch of stuff and stick it in the garage because I don't want to clutter up the house. I need to have a place for it first before it goes in there. Why? Because that's the castle. That's supposed to be the place where, where I'm comfortable, where I'm good. I walk in, I see, clean lines, edges and everything's in its place and everything's proper, right? Because that's going, my castle now walk in from fighting this war out here in the world, and then that's where I can relax at, right? So until I create a place for it, I'm not putting it in there. Cleanliness is next to godliness. I think there's a thought in that as well. So that falls right in line with your insides being clean, the your outsides being clean. I don't walk out this house unless I've, wiped my face and cleaned and showered and all of that stuff up, I put some oils, the same oils that I can ingest in my body, is what I might put on my skin, because my skin is the largest organ that we have, right? So again, having that consciousness. People walk all the time and they grab stuff. Oh, look at this. It says, 100% vitamin C on this juice. So now you think you done did something, but you ain't even turned it around and looked on the back and seen it says 12% juice. Well, hell, what's the other, 88%? You know what I mean? See, these are the things that we're talking about. When you start talking about God consciousness, if your body is the temple that you learned in church all this time, why are you not treating it as such? And treating it as such would be, hey, before you grab this food, that food, or at the very least, if you know you're going to eat something that ain't too great, know how you're going to counteract it with something that's so great, right? So, I believe that, in there is an 80-20 rule out there where you can sit there and say, all right, if I do 80% of what is right, then I will have the ability to indulge a little bit, right? So, but that's something you earn, earn the ability to indulge a little bit if you so choose. But one thing that I've come to understand is when it comes to food, especially, and I can think you can apply this to a lot of different things. When you do more of what you should do, your cravings begin to change and you don't want to do the garbage. You know what I mean? I noticed that even in leading that food plight here, even in my own home and the people around me, where they've come to not want some of the garbage that they used to eat before because of doing more of what we should do and noticing the effects, how you feel so much better. Your skin responds to it. Y'all know I didn't put no oil on my skin today. Nah, my skin is just as shiny because when you sit there, you drink fresh juices and things of that nature, what goes in will come out. You know what I mean? So, you dealing with acne and this, that, and the other. But again, this all ties back to being God conscious. So if you're walking around and you're understanding that you are a God, that inside of you has been imparted a portion of the spirit, well, guess what? You're not going to do a bunch of nonsense and garbage. You know what I mean? So that's again, something to think about as you fall in line with that God consciousness. But go ahead, brother.
I want to add this, and it's very interesting, and this deals with the seat of consciousness, what we call the seat of consciousness in this description of this thing called God consciousness. So what is the seat of consciousness? Okay, so when I did the thing about the mindset, the reason that I was doing that was to point out that there is an awareness that is behind the thinking, meaning there is something is aware of your thinking and how you think, right? And that awareness is observing your thoughts. Okay, it's easy to discover this. I think I'd have to give a good understanding to where you can discover this awareness behind thought. This awareness is not your subconscious mind. And when you're thinking, that is your frontal lobe of your brain is actually thinking, but there's something observing you, observing your thoughts. So now let's go with this thing called the pineal gland, which is in the center of the brain, located sort of like right behind the eyes on the levels of your ears in the center of your brain, right on the level. And so this particular gland is extremely powerful. If you just read about this gland, you'll begin to get a concept of God consciousness just with the gland. Let me break this gland down of the chemical makeup of the gland. It's very interesting. So the gland actually, that pineal gland secretes melanin, a chemical called neuromelanin. And it secretes it out from 12 at night, midnight, to to levels off around 4 in the morning, right before dawn. Okay. So this melanin that secretes out of the pineal gland repairs all your cells, repair your brain cells, and repairs your cells throughout your body. It is connected through all the cells in your body, this particularly neuromelanin. And it's different than the melanin that's on the surface of your skin. We're talking that melanin is why your skin is rusty looking dark color. That's a carbon in that melanin. I'm talking about neuromelanin, a chemical that is released out of the pineal gland that repairs all your cells in your brain and in your body while you sleep. This is the purpose of sleep. Now listen to this. That chemical that's called neuromelanin, when it secretes out of the brain and it levels off at 4 in the morning, stops. That chemical from in the body into the gut, when you finally wake up and the sunlight first hits your face, your eyes, that chemical turns into serotonin in the gut. It shoots back up to the brain, wakes the brain up, gives you awareness. If you ever notice the first sunlight in the morning, it kind of makes you not want to move and just stare, not looking at the sun, but looking beneath it, opposed to looking directly at it. It makes you stand still for a second. It's like something's happening here, right? So when that serotonin kicks in, it is your brain function, your awareness, your thoughts, your ideals. And this is the morning time, right? This is why morning you should be up and moving. No one should be sleeping late in the day because you're actually going down depressed, right? Then when the sun sets, that chemical called serotonin turns into melatonin. Now it's starting to wind you down and prepare you for sleep. When you start understanding how the body functions within itself, that is a God awareness of self. And so they call the pineal gland the seat of consciousness, of the awareness. Do you know that when you have a thought that came from nowhere, that gave, let's say you have an ideal or something you want to create, and suddenly, maybe in the middle of the night, maybe in the morning, you had a thought that came from nowhere. It wasn't in your frontal lobe of your brain. Surely it wasn't in your subconscious, because subconscious is just a program that take in information and just replace it. It don't give you nothing new. The subconscious don't give you nothing new, right? And so where did the awareness come from? See, the thinking, the frontal lobe of the brain, if I have an ideal that popped into my brain, I begin to use the frontal lobe to figure out how can I bring this ideal into this existence, right? That's the seat of consciousness. Where did the ideal come from? Look at things around you. It came from someone's mind. I don't care what you look at. I don't care if you're looking at the computer, your phone. It came from someone's mind first before it came into this existence. Well, where did that come from? How did that ideal reach that person's brain? I created an invention some time ago when I had this thought, when I was going into the patents to create this, when I was going to write up this patent for this ideal. When I was discussing the ideal with my family members as I'm doing the development, I was starting to see other stuff out there similar to the ideal. And it was interesting. So either two things was happening that I realized. Either, and we all have discovered this, we all had an ideal of something that we knew didn't exist, but we said, oh, wow, I could create this. Or we saw something that could be worked better. And then years later, that thing came into existence. Everyone has experienced something in their life that says, I thought of that years ago. Well, what is happening here is this. When you have a thought, that thought is now into a frequency inside the brain. Inside the brain is an electromagnetic wave. It creates an electromagnetic wave in the brain. Google this shit. This is real shit. Outside of you is an electromagnetic field. All around you is an electromagnetic field that connects all atoms together. If it wasn't for the electromagnetic field, everything will fall apart. Your nose, everything will just fall apart, right? So when I have a thought that's connected to the electromagnetic field finds whatever frequency my thought is looking for, and it makes that item or whatever it is come in my direction. Right? When you starting to notice these things about yourself that you had an idea that someone else had, it is because you had a thought that sent out a frequency that someone else picked up, or someone else had a thought that sent out a frequency that you picked up. That's why you have that sharing thing you was talking about, having a thought, boom, the person called, or having a thought and someone mentions their name. Those are electromagnetic field wavelengths that you are bringing into your existence. This concept alone will make you feel the God consciousness of awareness inside yourself. If you just study the science behind the pineal gland and its function of what it do with the serotonin. And by the way, serotonin and melatonin is not a chemical you can buy synthetic. You have to get it from a human being in order to exercise it. So you will see serotonin supplements and you see melatonin supplements in the shelves in the stores. You got to start questioning where that shit comes from, because melatonin don't come from a plant, don't come from no herb or none of that. It's produced in the brain. Serotonin is the same thing. Don't come from no plant, don't come from no herb. It's produced inside the brain. So people need to be asking the question when they see serotonin and melatonin supplements, you should be asking, where'd you get that from? Because it can only be developed in the gut and the brain, right? And so we need to ask these questions of why are we so valuable to a certain people? Why are our melanin so valuable to a certain people that don't have melanin and that are dying because of the heat of the sun? Why are we being used for our awareness? Oh, there's this thing called adrenaline code. I don't know if you know anything about the adrenaline code, where they can take a child and frighten them and hype them up, and the brain will send out an adrenaline that is life for other people. How do you use it? Cause a child to go into fear, pour their blood. Now you have a tube of some high expensive fast adrenaline. You shoot it in someone else to cause them to feel that liveliness. You don't believe that shit? Look up the adrenaline code and see what they're doing about people's adrenaline and that chemical that can be used to give other people life. Right? When you start learning this stuff, you realize your God self and get away from the distractions that they are causing you to not realize your awareness.
What is the toroidal field? Toroidal field, a magnetic field with no radial components. Example, where the magnetic lines of force lie on an electrically conducting spheral surface, such as the surface of the Earth's core. Such a field is not detectable at the Earth's surface, in contrast to a poloidal field, which a human body can be a spheral surface.
Exactly.
An electrically conducting spherical surface. When you look at the movie The Matrix, one of the reasons why the machines took over and did what they did was because they found that their endless source of electricity that they needed was in the human body.
Correct.
So they took all the human bodies, created this fake life, and plugged everybody up.
Correct.
That's the whole premise.
Yep.
So,
which is going on right now today.
Yep.
With that's going on right now today with
the metaverse,
abortions, everything that you see going on today. Your body is a chemical. Every time you go to the doctor, do you know that when they draw blood, they take some, they sell those parts. They don't throw them away. They don't really dispose of them. That's stuff like when a baby is born and they take the placenta, they selling it. That's chemicals. They can resell it to the pharmaceutical company. They don't tell you it's worth anything. They're going to make millions of dollars off of it, but they got it from you free.
Yeah, you better take that umbilical cord home with you.
Yeah.
Shoot, they cut it. You better take it home. It's yours. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. The heart thinking process comes from combining emotion and thought to create feeling-based universal language. Adrenochrome, as you were speaking of,
yes,
comes from the heart surrounding the body.
between 5 to 8 feet. Comes from the heart surrounding the body between 5 to 8 feet. That's interesting.
Yeah,
When you start talking about that.
Correct. You talking about the electric field that we send out, our aura?
Yeah.
Correct.
Which is interesting because give me 6 feet. Y'all remember that, right?
Correct. Exactly.
Give me 6 feet. The C word. Give me 6 feet. You know what I mean? That electromagnetic field. You know what I mean? If you can see when you get people closer, and this is why I believe there was some testing that was being done. Because when you get people closer, I would assume that if I got a machine that can see that electromagnetic field of a person, then the closer or the more of a cluster of people that you have, the harder it is to individualize each person. So if I got 5, 10 people around each other, the harder it is to individualize each person. Whereas if they stand in about 6 feet apart, maybe, then, you know, we can go ahead and I can see this person, I can see that person, I can see these people individually. So it's interesting when you say that.
You can feel people's energy by being near you. You can feel their aura. You know, you can feel the presence of people without them speaking. And that's the aura that they put out. Now some is lower, based upon your vibration, and some is up to 6 to 8 feet of your aura expanding out. That's just the facts, right? But understand that's how it works. And those deal with the chakras and how the chakras work in the body, specifically the heart chakra and the gut chakra. The heart chakra is what sends out your aura, your vibration. It's what sends out information to the universe. The gut chakra is what reads the information from the universe. So you're actually a battery. You are actually a walking battery. You know, if you really know of your body and what you're capable of doing.
And as you put the right things into the body, you regenerate that power, that battery power. It can keep regenerating that power. Now think about that. The ability to regenerate that's a tool.
Exactly.
There's some people out there that would love, that are focusing on getting a hold of, getting control of that tool. So that's why there would be control. That's why there would be the idea to keep people dumbfounded. Only let them get to a certain level, right, of understanding with everything that's out here, because we don't want them realizing the power that they really have, right? The heart has a stronger magnetic field than the brain. A heart to heart is vibratory. So think about that.
No, actually, that's wrong. The heart has the strongest magnetic field. The heart is what sends the vibration through your body. The brain is what controls it. In other words, let me give you an example. Let's say you have a thought of having a fight, and you're just thinking of the fight. The fight ain't there. The brain sends out an adrenaline to the body, and the body pumps up. It sends it to the heart, and then the heart sends that adrenaline to all the flows of the body through all your cells, and your vessels open up. So actually, it's the heart is the biggest vibration that you have. When you feel your pulse, it's coming from the heart, not the brain. So the brain controls the vibration, because you can slow your heart vibration down with a thought, and you can pick it up with a thought. You can think of a fight, and your heart start beating. You're sending out a frequency that's going wider and wider the harder the beat is, right? So no, your heart is the strongest vibration frequency in your body, not the brain. It is the heart.
Well, no, that's exactly what he said here. He says the heart has a stronger magnetic field than the brain.
That's correct.
And you know, that's why he was saying a heart to heart. Like if you say have a heart to heart conversation, heart to heart is vibratory.
Exactly. You can feel that person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So you know, it's interesting when we start talking about this, man, because we could literally keep this going forever. Because this is a conversation, you know, when you start really talking about this stuff. Now, I'm tripping. I'm wondering if there is some other locations out there that I'm not. Well, now I got check mark on YouTube and everything. But it's all good. So I didn't see our guy this morning, Dr. No Job. You know, but it's all good. So, you know, when you really look at this, folks, then, you know,
there is just some deeper learning understanding. The problem that I see is when people, say, I'm only stuck on this and I'm not going anywhere else. And I see that mostly in the Christian faith and thought. People will say, if it ain't in the book, it ain't real. I'm not going anywhere past that. Well, I mean, I could, post some information about things that were omitted from this book that talks more about God consciousness than anything else in the book. And then you got to ask yourself, okay, if things like this were omitted from the book, why? Because if you knew the true power that you have, guess what? You'd accomplish more. You treat yourself differently.
Exactly.
If you walked around believing that you were a god, if you walked around understanding that there is a God force energy out here greater than yourself, that you, a mini god, have the ability to tap into, guess what? You would do things, you would be things, you would treat yourself in ways greater than you ever thought before. So, that's a thing in and of itself, is the ability to think, control, and be when it comes to you, your own world, and your own universe. Folks, we got power out here, and y'all need to stop playing.
Stop playing.
Stop playing. So, with that in mind, I might have to invite my brother to the show.
Oh man, yeah, he's rocking with us, man. I appreciate that stuff he's playing in there, because definitely he's dropping some jewels.
Yeah, he when you really think about a lot of this stuff out here, then let's peep this. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. The lamp of the body is the eye. So that's Matthew 6:22, right? So again, it's like you said, John, if you take a nugget of truth and then surround it by a bunch of lies, people will rock with it. So the thing about it is you got to you really have to, when you look at, I mean, because I'm gonna say there are some truths in the Bible when we start looking at historical context and such, but you got to go deeper than what's just within the book that you see today. You got to go much deeper.
Yeah, that's what makes it kind of don't make no sense. Why do I got to go so deep just to find this Negro called God? Why is it so hard? Because it's man written for some bullshit to keep you distracted. That's all. That's all it is. Yeah, a little drop of truth. A little drop of truth, like, hey, every man should take care of his son. Oh yeah, I should do. And then next thing you know, you believe in the whole damn thing. Why? Because look, God said I should take care of my son. Is that not right? So I kind of get it, the concept.
Absolutely. And I mean, we could go even deeper when we start talking about this. So we're gonna have to. I have to see when I can get my brother in. What's funny is years ago, he was on Reiki and stuff like that years ago, and we just thought he was crazy when he first started coming with it, but through the years, as he started his spiritual journey a lot earlier than I would say even myself, even though he's my younger brother. I'm the oldest of 4 boys. But with that in mind, now me, him, other brothers, my father, we sit and we have these conversations all the time. And, there's a much greater spiritual enlightenment, spiritual awakening, and spiritual understanding that's had now. So now when I go back and I look at some of the things that he was into early on, then it was like, oh man, he was spot on.
Yeah, if he was in the Reiki, no doubt he was into self-awareness. Definitely was into the
like,
energy.
Nigga, why you got these
body?
Rocks for, nigga? What's wrong with you? Well, different color rocks. The fuck wrong with you? But
yeah,
hey.
he was there. He was ahead. He definitely was there back then. There. So good kudos to that brother.
Yep. So when you seek knowledge of self, no one can fool you, folks. Again, if it doesn't make sense, then it probably isn't for reals, right? You have an innate level of energy and consciousness within you that allows you to discern, so you when you do seek knowledge of self, no one can fool you. It's just that simple. It really is. So again, we'll talk more about this. We'll keep this conversation going. How you feel about today's show, brother?
Man, it was awesome. Whenever we're talking conscious of God, I was just talking to someone the other day about whenever you're talking this conscious of God, it is hard to have this conversation without talking religion. And then when you talk religion, when you step on some people's toes, turn off certain people, because a lot of us are so in tune or so programmed to the default information that we were given. This is why I first wanted to talk about the opening of the conversation of the concept of God and where you get it from, right? Because you have to go into it. Where did it come from? Because if you don't, we're just going to throw the word around and not know the root of the word, where it comes from, and who developed it, who started it. And I think that's the start. Anyone who uses the word God should know that that's a Greek word, and you should also know where they got it from before you start grabbing the concept and placing it into a certain meaning and you trying to follow it. I think, again, the concept of God. And we're also using our master's language, the English language, in this discussion also, which has a different dialect, a different vibration, a different frequency. When we speak this word God, G-O-D, that's a frequency that we are using, just like the word morning, right? That's a frequency that we're using. So we should understand spells in this English language, and it's not like other languages where I give you an example.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, other languages.
Those spells, right?
Right, spells. Other languages don't have a word that has two different meanings. It's just if that word has a sound, that word has one sound and is directed to one meaning. Where in the English language, you got a lot of the spells. You can say a word two, and two, right? And so you can. It depends on how you use it in a sentence. But there's a lot of spells in the English language, and that word called God, G-O-D, is one of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. My man said, I feel like God means guide and Lord means leader. To me, in my personal opinion, if it's new, it ain't true. If it's true, it ain't new. Interesting thoughts there. Now, this was something I wanted to pull up real quick, just right here in Louisville, Kentucky. And I would say that this would hold true to many, especially the 15 southern states in America, especially. This is probably duplicated across the board. But you look at this, the Louisville's West End versus East End. Now, West End is the end of that is more predominantly melanated people, more of some disparaged communities in the West End versus the East End, much more prominent. Now, this was published in 2013. Okay, but I want you guys to see something here as we look at this. All right, churches, 168 versus 68 churches in the East End. So you talk about more crime, less businesses, less doctors, less, everything. I mean, you got more liquor stores as well, right? And the thing about it, folks, less attorneys, people to help you fight that fight, right? Less dentists. So I walk through West End, man, I see some crooked smiles, right? But that's less care, less ability to go get the care, right? Less OBGYNs. Man, you would think you would have more. Less pediatricians, 0 hospitals, 6 pharmacies, 20. So I mean, just when you look at this stuff, less when it comes to your money and how you move your money.
Even
But
looking at the banks, it's
yeah,
very interesting. When you look at the barber shops, the beauty salons, and liquor stores, bakeries, restaurants. That's interesting. And attorneys, yeah. So basically, you are seeing a great divide
mm-hmm.
in the thing. You look at
But you see control more so with
correct.
all these churches in comparison. So a thriving community has less churches and more of the other necessary things:
Less
hospitals,
churches and less liquor
lawyers,
stores.
less churches and less liquor stores. But hand in hand, you got more churches and more liquor stores. And this was back in 2013. So
Yeah,
believe me, these numbers.
because that number of liquor stores is not that is incorrect. 24, that's incorrect. Hell, I have more than that, and more of my products in more liquor stores than 24. So
Absolutely.
I know the fact that
And
it's
again,
more.
this was published in 2013. So
Yeah.
think about it, folks. 10 years later, you're talking, good and well, there's more than this because we see them on every corner. So again, more controlled churches and liquor stores in the most disparaged communities.
Right. And what I also noticed in there is got supermarkets 5 and 9. But now when we're talking supermarket, we're really talking a big market. But let's look at moms and pops that they don't have up here. The corner stores that all the Arabs own. They're all in the West End, of Louisville, and actually 0 in the more of the East End. Actually 0. The Arabs, the Indians, they come to open up their corner stores in the Black neighborhood. And I mean, if you had that number there, you would probably see anywhere from 200 corner stores in the lower income area, and actually 0 corner stores out in the affluent, in the white area. And what I mean when I say that is that the zoning in the Black neighborhood is easy to take a residential home on a corner and convert it into a store. Where out in the East End, you cannot take a zoning where residential and make it into a store, period. All stores are in shopping center areas or shopping center malls. They're not in the neighborhood, right? And I think that is a big missing piece here in this
census numbers here. Yeah,
this is number, because most Black people in the hood go to these small grocery stores that don't have the foods of the Krogers. They don't have fresh vegetables.
The Family Dollars, the Dollar
Exactly.
Generals. Until it was what, 2016, I went and became a manager of a Family Dollar. I was working with a company called Dollar Express. Their job was to come in and clean up about 335 Family Dollars and then sell them to Dollar General. That was the underlying thing that happened. And with that in mind, they paid me 50 grand a year. So I was like, cool. But bro, I didn't realize how people utilize this little spot for their regular grocery shopping. Like, this is what they come to get food. And then when you go look back there, it's mostly garbage.
Correct.
Back there, prepared garbage in a box or bag back there. And it's just like, dude, this is...
And I noticed these restaurants. Oh, I noticed 30 in the hood and 250. Now, these 30 in the hood, all of these restaurants are crappy foods. If all those restaurants in the hood are crappy, they're either fast food or soul food, which is crappy food. And that's a big difference. And when you see 255, you probably see a lot of nice restaurants that are out there,
Look,
vegan restaurants.
Here's something else. Look right here. Head of household, male, 62%, female, 38%, Whereas over here on the East End, you got male 92%,
Mm,
female 8%.
big difference, right?
Big difference.
Does
You
that
know,
go? Does that go back to that, to the divorce thing? Black people, black women divorce.
hey, you know, right now, was it over 40% of kids born in America today overall are born out of in a out of wedlock or what have you, in unmarried unions, right? And then when you break that number down, the melanated community is over 70% born out of wedlock. So, you know, again, all of this, but what I'm really focused on is these churches and liquor stores. We got more churches, more liquor stores in the disparaged neighborhoods versus the East End, in thriving neighborhoods where they have way less churches, not even half, less than half churches and liquor stores in this number, and this is 10 years ago. So guess what? I'd love to see a census of this done, you know, more so. But it was actually Uncle Mishorn that, when they were putting this Louisville numbers together, the editor and the people who were actually doing this article, Uncle Mishorn went and said, hey, you got to include the churches because that's a part of control.
That's exactly right.
And so you got to include the churches, and they had never thought about that. And so when they went and found those numbers, I mean, and then look at this. You're talking about almost the same number of people. You know what I mean? 61,000 versus 68,000. You ain't talking about that much more numbers of people. But when you look at these neighborhoods and these areas, then you're just talking about, you know, what median home value 229,000, median home value 66,000, 33% own their home, 22% vacancy. Go over here to the East End, and looks like some of that is, but it's like 50 something percent owns a home, and I can't see the number of vacancy there. I have to look back at the magazine, but 79% college or higher, 55% bachelor's degree or higher, 38% some college or higher, 7% bachelor degree or higher. So, and I'm not saying you'll never see me be the person that says you got to go to college to accomplish anything, because that's not true at all. But good Lord, the disparity in education is wild. So, again, all of this ties back into, what we're talking about here. When you are walking around without knowledge of self, guess what? What is the source you are viewing? Okay, hold on one second. Let me show you. This is a 2013 edition of Louisville Magazine. All right. So that's where this comes from. My brother's talking about it too, down in Aventura. It's a very nice area, South Florida. You won't see any McDonald's or fast food in the Aventura area. We are liquid money. Churches and liquor stores equals bad investments. It takes a lot to keep melanin sedated, I guess, meaning all these churches, liquor stores, all the distractions. That's the sedation.
And they will spend money to keep us asleep. You remember they spent $3.5 billion for BET, which was only worth $600 million.
Yeah, because of the value of the ability to control.
Yep. Money is not an object when it comes to being able to control Black people. I want people to understand that money is not an object to control Black people or melanated people, and keep this in mind. They will create the opposition for you. Yeah, they'll create it for you. You got an opposition, they'll create it for you to keep you distracted. Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
They'll create it for you.
The
to
white
keep you
man is the
distracted.
boogeyman.
Yeah.
Some of
Listen,
y'all still,
Joe.
and you can't tell me that you don't. I know some of y'all do. You want to know how I know? Look at how you act when white people are around versus how you act when they aren't. Okay, so I get how you talk or speak when you're doing business, in general, right? You put your interview voice on. I understand that. And we talk a little more loose, little slang when we around our people, when we are not in that interview mode, right? I get that. But some of y'all, and I've seen it and I've heard it, some of y'all, when the white people around, boy, you straighten up.
Straighten up.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And the way you speak
is deep, man.
and the way you speak is so different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you still think that the white man is your boogeyman.
Mm.
Uncle Michon said when we did a show a little bit ago for the Truth Be Told show on Tuesdays, we did a segment called Mr. Whitey. So what we did was we let Peter Hayes speak some things that he believes white people are thinking about, right? Peter Hayes is a Caucasian, a European, right? And Uncle Michon said some brothers, some generals, some military brothers, strong brothers. They was mad and they was ready to do this, that, and the other. And I said, Uncle Michon, why they ain't do that back then when they had the opportunity, when they were going through that? Why ain't they do it then? They won't do it now when we having a pun on the show. They want to buck their chest out, this, that, and the other. Nah, because when you around Mr. Whitey, you all of a sudden become, that's your boogeyman once again. See, if you're not on that whole racism thing, then guess what? White people ain't your boogeyman no more. You know what I mean? So again, what is this? What do you say? Negropeans? Yeah. Some of y'all, again, you got to get your mind off of that stuff. When you get your mind off of that stuff, guess what? You won't be thinking about a lot of that. You won't focus on that, which means you won't draw that garbage into your life. Some of y'all see videos every day about racism and cops and this, that, and the other. I don't even be seeing them things. They don't come into my existence. They're not in my timeline feed. I got rid of. There was one of the things that was sending it in a message every other day or something like that. They would send me some new black issue or something like that, and I got rid of it. And I don't see that stuff in my timeline no more. It's not there because I don't encompass the idea of racism because ain't nobody my boogeyman.
Right.
You know what I mean? I am what I need. I am what I am looking for. I am the ability to create the universe that I so choose. Therefore, I only see things like that. So, man, we can wrap up here, man. This conversation can keep going. Marketing and advertising budgets are so big because what you think? Attention is the most important currency. Pay, give freely, or invest your attention wisely. Absolutely. Whenever Mr. Charlie is in the room, we engage differently. The boogeyman, the white man is in the room.
That's right.
So again, folks, this has been a great conversation. We'll keep it going. We'll talk some more about the God consciousness. Got a couple guests that we want to reach out to as well and get them on. And let's talk more about this God consciousness. Let's talk more about the ability to, wrap your mind around this concept of believing, speaking, thinking things into existence and controlling your own universe or controlling your own particular sphere of activity, interest, or experience. Definition. All right. So this has been another episode of the Truth Be Told Show. I'm gonna play some commercials and get on out of here. But brother, as always, it has been fantastic. we will see you next week.
Yes, sir, brother. Peace, man.
All right, peace, y'all. This has been, again, another episode of Truth Be Told Show.
Habibi Trading Company, home of soap, sticks, and Saya Baba products. Over 400 locations at a store near you. Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, Southern Indiana, or find yours online at sayababa.com. Again, that's sayababa.com. Habibi Trading Company, where you can find fragrances to incite your senses.
Hey folks, check out healthdaddywow.net. 100% plant-based herbs and supplements. Whether you're in person or online, use the word tipping for 10% off. Remember, feel better, look great, healthdaddywow.net. Remember, healthdaddywow.net.
The truth is running in our blood. The answers are lying here within. The truth is running in our blood. The answers are lying here within.